My name is Ellora. I am practicing in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am a chiropractor, but I spend my time online teaching women how their menstrual cycles work and how their
Mm,
bodies work so that they
mm,
can make informed decisions about their health. So that's
wow.
me.
Well, you know what's really interesting about that is I really, my first instant reaction when you said that, there was like a little tiny girl in me that was like, I don't need to know how my body works. And then I was like, wait, actually, yes, I do, because nobody actually taught us that, right? As women, there's like this revolution going on of actually knowing. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what do people come in? What are some of the biggest misconceptions that women come to you with about their bodies and their cycle that you have to dismantle and rewire?
Ooh, dismantling and rewiring things that women come to me in regards to. That's a good question. And I think a big part of it is that women don't get taught how this works, and they kind of have this misconception that it's too hard to figure it out.
Mm,
That just because it wasn't something that we grew up with, that they don't have the self-trust to figure it out and do the thing.
mm.
I think one of the biggest notions that I hear from women is that they're uncertain if they will be able to do it. So that is definitely something that we have to work through, in that if honestly, if you pee every day and you can count to five, like you can use this method, family awareness method, fertility planning, natural family planning, all of that. You can use this as a method of, hormone-free birth control. And that's kind of like how I got interested into all of this.
Mm.
But I meet a lot of women that they're like, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can figure it out. And truly, if you pee every day and you can count to five, I think you can do it.
Well, I want to go definitely. I have so many questions rattling around in my brain right now, but I'm gonna take a little side road for a second. And those of you that know me know this is quite on brand. I am just realizing that there is, I mean, I've realized this, but I'm realizing it in a different way. Like, why do you think chiropractors are such trailblazers and also like always on the fringe? Like, what is it about learning to be a chiropractor or, or the what you get taught or what draws you to be a chiropractor? Like, what is it about that methodology that naturally lends to people that are more free thinkers, more, I'm going to use this word anti-establishment, even though I don't mean anti, I just mean kind of like outside of the establishment. Like what is it? Because I feel like I come across this a lot. Like I am a chiropractor and I have this really cutting edge way to view the body, something like that.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Wow, let's get into it.
Yeah.
And I will do the best that I can, and also like I am not,
I know you're not
you
speaking
know,
for all chiropractors.
not
I
for
get it.
all of the chiropractors.
Just you, just you.
Right. But you're right, right? Like there's a lot of times where I see somebody and I hear something and they say doctor something, and then I go on their website and I'm like, where did they go to school? Oh, they went to blank chiropractic school. I'm like, I
Hmm.
knew it. I knew it. Um yeah. So, and there's two ends of the spectrum. There's actually a really big rift in the chiropractic profession along these
Mm.
lines, which I think is
Mm.
really interesting. But some of the founding principles of chiropractic and how I look at the body is chemical, emotional, and structural. Those are the three lenses that chiropractors look at the body: chemical, emotional, and structural. And I say chemical, emotional, physical. That's what I kind of go through. And it's just kind of like this holistic perspective where we try to take a lot of different things into consideration because we're multifaceted individuals,
Hmm.
right? You just can't look at things through one lens. And I think chiropractic started that way, and some of the schools didn't lose that. Some of the schools did lose some of that. And ironically, my interpretation is that my school was not a school that really taught about all of those, even though
Mm.
like nowadays we have the biopsychosocial model. So it's kind of like coming back into effect, I think, a little bit. But really, that was the original chiropractic of chemical, emotional, and structural, and figuring out that, it's not just one thing. There is no panacea, there is multiple facets to this. And I think about so much of the overlap. And the example that I always use with patients is like, most people have experienced some sort of ache or pain or feeling inside of them that has been emotionally related, like a headache, somebody gets a lot of headaches, and they're like, well, I've been really stressed lately. I'm like, okay, that's an emotional trigger. But the physical manifestation of that is also just as relevant because then you may have like those tight traps. And also being stressed and if you have muscle aches and pains, that may also be related to a chemical deficiency with something like magnesium.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of overlap in that. But as far as like, oh man, the division between the two, it's just there's so much, but really it's that I feel like some schools kept with that and some schools went away from that because there's some bits of chiropractic history that are like, well, that's a little weird. And so
Hmm.
we cut some other things out that were probably like good that we shouldn't have cut out. So like the first chiropractic adjustment, I don't know if you've ever heard this story or for like other listeners have heard this.
No, but I'd love to hear this story.
So Dee Dee Palmer is the founder of chiropractic. Chiropractic and the idea of like bone setting and adjusting bones has been around for literally thousands of years. But the guy who was just like chiropractic, this is the thing, it's Dee Dee Palmer. And the first like adjustment on record was I believe I can't remember the gentleman's name and it's gonna drive me nuts, but somebody who worked in the building for him and he adjusted him and it restored his hearing.
Oh, wow.
Right. And so this is hotly debated in the chiropractic field, but like nobody else knows what's going on. And not everybody necessarily believes that that happened. And so sometimes other things that kind of get lumped in with chiropractic would go like, okay, well, we don't know if that's true or not. So then like maybe we don't believe this thing or the other thing too, right? Like it kind of
Hmm.
like discredits maybe some other things. Even though we have looped back around in the biopsychosocial model is justifying that we are multifaceted individuals and it's not just one view. Like we need a multi-view.
Yeah. And it makes me think about how brave humans are because honestly, like those first people that were like, yeah, sure, take my head and like snap my neck. Go for it, you know? Like that's some like brave SHIT to go. So like, it's really fascinating and it's really interesting. And I think like whatever the reason, I do my experience, and I've gone to several different chiropractors, including a network chiropractor, which was an experience. Um, uh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I love network chiropractic. I don't knock anything, but well, that's not true. But anyway,
I get it.
I just think that there's a lot of free thinkers that come out of this school, and it's just so interesting. Or, and I know that like there's different schools of chiropractic, but just like this umbrella, I guess. And it's just really, really interesting and really like fascinating to me on a different level of like why that is more so than any of the other, holistic practices that I can think of. So that's really maybe it's the freedom that it gives in the body. It like frees the brain. Who knows, man? Anyway, okay, back to you. So, how did you get interested in like let's just umbrella call it women's health for to start?
Yeah. Well, in chiropractic school, I was introduced to this concept called a drug-induced nutrient depletion
Mm,
and the concept of informed consent, which is
mm,
something that I hadn't received until I was being trained as a healthcare professional and being told this is something that is standard procedure. You have to do this with all of your patients. And then I was like, wait a second.
mm,
I was put on birth control and
mm,
nobody explained to me what a drug-induced nutrient depletion was and that a lot of side effects from a lot of medications, whether they're over the counter or prescription, are a result of the vitamins and minerals that our body needs to do all of the things being depleted, blocked, or compromised because we're taking something else that
mm,
conflicts with it. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Where, what? And then I just kind of went down the rabbit hole, right?
mm,
So I started learning about how vitamin B is one of the things that is depleted with birth control, and vitamin B is also something when it's depleted results in depression and anxiety and some of those things. And again, with magnesium and muscle pains and stuff. And I mean, I've definitely had multiple people who've had a magnesium deficiency, and that's something that is depleted by birth control, and that's something that wasn't told to me when I was given this prescription to take to quote treat something
Mm,
that yeah. And so that just kind of led me down and I'm like, well, what else don't I know about what's
mm,
going on? And wow, this thing happens every single month and nobody told me how it works. And wow, it happens for decades and it's just move along. We don't
mm-hmm,
talk about it.
mm-hmm.
And then once, like, really, once I learned what a drug-induced nutrient depletion was, it was like off to the races.
So for those people that don't know, what is a drug-induced nutrient depletion?
Yeah, a drug-induced nutrient depletion is the compromising of vitamins and minerals that your body needs, either by blocking the ability to absorb it, binding to one of the nutrients, or using up faster
Mm,
than maybe it's coming into the system. Those are like the three main categories for drug-induced nutrient depletion. But there are consequences to actions.
yeah,
And when you take a substance that, is external and you put it internal, like there's a chemical reaction that happens. And sometimes there are there's friendly fire and it takes up, uses, blocks those vitamins and minerals that your body needs to do literally everything. And then that's how we get
totally.
side effects.
Yeah, and I think our generation, and I won't stay here too long, but I think our generation is really the first generation that is kind of aware of what you're not everyone is going to be aware on a doctor level, right? But like what I am aware of, and I think what a lot of people are waking up to is like a lot of these things that we were told if you were born in the 70s, 80s, 90s that were benign. Like you're told like, oh, just take a XYZ. We don't have to name them. Just you have a headache, take this. You have a fever, take this. Like you have a stomach ache, take this. Like there was no concept that these things had any effect other than the one that we wanted, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's just, I think it's so important that people understand, no matter what age you are, but hopefully younger and younger people understand that you can use these things and there's nothing wrong inherently with using them, right?
Right.
However, understanding, like you're saying, informed consent, understanding that X plus Y equals Z or what's going on in your body so that you can make an aligned and intelligent decision is so important. So I think that that's just so important to highlight. And I'm so glad you brought that up. And now I want to ask you a really basic B question, which is like, how do our cycles work?
Mm. I want to jump back real quick though,
Yeah, jump
because
away.
I'm not like, I also want to make sure that I'm not perceived as anti-medication at all either.
No, yeah.
But there is a time and a place for those things. And we still also need to know what is happening so at least we can like kind of compensate at least a little bit. So like when people do come in and when I do a health history, I do look at those drug induced nutrient depletions and I'm not like don't take this because of that, but I'm still like hey, maybe we also include a supplementation or maybe you start eating food things that are higher in these nutrients but don't put it like right next to the prescription that you're taking because there can be a downstream effect of it interacting like that. But we still need to fill in those gaps. But
Yeah,
how
totally.
how does your cycle work? Oh my goodness. Yeah, the basic question.
Yeah, let's break it down.
So if we break it down really simply, we have two halves. We have the follicular half and we have the luteal half. Follicular is in the first half, luteal is in the second. It's not just the menstrual cycle, like it's not just the bleeding part. There's a whole bunch that happens before that, and then the bleed is like the last thing that happens, but we also count it as the first thing. The first day of your menstrual cycle is the first day that you are bleeding, and you need more than a pad, or you need a pad or tampon, cup, disc, whatever you are using, right? We have so many choices now.
I know.
But that menstrual cycle that you're experiencing, that period at that point in time, has been built by the previous cycle. Like your
Mm,
hormones that have been at play is what prepared you to have that experience. So when women are like, oh my goodness, I feel terrible, I feel this, I feel that, the other thing, it's not necessarily what's happening at that moment in time. It's all of the hormonal cascade before that that set you up for that bleed period.
mm,
And we talk primarily about estrogen and progesterone, I feel like, in the online space when we're talking about hormone stuff, but there's other hormones that are involved with this process. And I also want to break down like what the heck is a hormone, right?
mm,
We talk about hormones and like I think I have a hormone problem. Like, well, what is that? So a hormone is a chemical messenger that delivers information from one cell or tissue to another cell or tissue to tell it to turn on something or turn off something. So, like, there's just so much opposition when it comes to health and balancing health. People talk about like balancing hormones, and that can get a
Mm.
little bit money sometimes. But day one of your menstrual cycle is the first day that you bleed. Your hormones are pretty low at that time, and that's because that dip is what caused the uterine lining to shed. So now we're in the beginning part of the next cycle on day one of our bleed. Everything's pretty low. We're in the follicular phase. That's the first half. And then about ish in the midpoint, every woman is a little bit different. That's why tracking is super important so you know exactly when it happens. Is ovulation, and that's really the star of the show, and that's what is a really important sign of vitality
Mhm.
because if you are ovulating, that means your body is showing that it is safe and comfortable and it feels like it has the nutrients and support in order to carry on the species, to bear life, right? But like that's the whole point.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah, but we have to have all of the nutrients and have the safety in order to ovulate.
Mm.
And that happens, like I said, about the mid-ish way point in the cycle. But the first half, estrogen is kind of the star. In the second half, progesterone is the star, and progesterone is helps maintain the uterine lining. So when that progesterone then dips back down, the uterine lining isn't maintained, and then that's when you have your period, and then we're back to day one again. Those are the spark notes.
I love this. I'm so in and I have questions. My first question is how then can we have a bleed without ovulating? Because that can happen, right?
Anovulatory cycles, yes, that can happen. And that's how can so that's how birth control works is birth control stops ovulation from happening,
Mm.
and in that particular like scenario,
Yeah.
that's actually a withdraw from the hormones that were stimulating the uterine lining. So it's the absence of the thing that maintains that then triggers the next event. So that's really what it is. Again, with that like positive, negative, oppositional balance.
And what does that say to you? Like if a woman is coming to you, let's say a woman's coming to you who's wanting to conceive, but she knows that she's having these anovulatory cycles, what does that say to you about like where her health is at?
Mm. We got some work to do, and
Mm.
that's okay. But anovulatory cycles are also fairly common in PCOS. That's
Mm.
something that I'm sure a couple of your listeners have heard about. It's been a hot topic online again as
Yes, it
well.
has.
Um, but with somebody who is having an anovulatory cycle, we really need to like do a deep dive and see what's going on in their life,
Because there can be a
honestly.
lot of different factors, right?
So many different factors.
Right.
One of the big factors is stress and blood sugar. Those are two really big areas for why women may have anovulatory cycles. But we're just so multifaceted. Um, and one of the things that I frequently ask people, which kind of like catches some people off guard as far as women's health goes, is I always ask if people have a bowel movement if they're pooping.
Mm.
And this sounds silly, but we get rid of our excess estrogen through our bowels. Like your body is literally taking the trash out when you have a bowel movement. And in order for ovulation to happen, your estrogen in the first half needs to increase between 40 and 60% to trigger the hormone that triggers ovulation to happen.
Wow.
If you don't have that 40 to 60% increase, the signal doesn't get delivered to get the egg to be ovulated. So if you are chronically high in estrogen, you're not going to be able to get that increase.
Mm.
And if you're not having a bowel movement every day, you're probably not clearing your estrogen. So that might be one of the contributing factors as to why you're not getting that steep increase in through there. So when somebody comes to me and they say that they're not ovulating, I want to know, are you
Are
pooping
you
every day?
pooping?
That's one of the things I ask. And also, are you eating? Like, are you
Mm,
eating are you eating 3 times a day? Or and if you're not eating 3 times a day and you're eating intentionally twice a day, like what are you eating? Do you have the raw materials available to you in order to ovulate? And
mm.
that blood sugar and stress component is also really, really foundationally important for that. So, yeah.
Cool. That's so helpful. I want to get into tracking because I'm going to start with a little personal story. So I recently wore a Stello blood sugar monitor for, I did like
Mm.
off and on. I did 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, whatever. And as much as I don't love having like a device in my body because it kind of creeps me out, like it's like,
Heard.
like, how are you connected to my phone at all times? Um, but I found it super enlightening. Like it was really, really helpful to really because I know I've studied food, nutrition, health. Like I'm aware that if I just like have some, even if they're like grain-free pretzels, if I just have like some grain-free pretzels as a snack, I'm aware that that's not a smart choice, right? For many reasons. But to actually see my blood sugar go through the roof, right,
Yeah.
on a thing was super, super, super helpful. So I sort of I'm gonna say like I'm not I'm neutral around tracking. Like I find some of it I wear an Aura ring, love my Aura ring. I love that I can turn on airplane mode. Like I but I'm not, you know, yeah, anyway, I don't even know how to say it. There's some parts of me that are kind of like I can get a little too obsessed, so I have to be careful, right? I
Mm.
have to be careful about too much data because then I start to rely only on the data and forget that I'm like a human in my body. I'm just like this data on a screen, right? So but anyway, I just thought that was super interesting to like watch what my blood sugar was doing. I learned some really important things. Um, and I want to talk a little bit about like how do you look at tracking? What do you like in terms of ovulation? Because I have a long, I had a struggle with fertility when I had my daughter for 5 years. And so I have friends in that community. And a lot of women would tell me, hey, I'm using, whatever it is to track ovulation. And then I'm going to the doctor and actually I didn't ovulate. Like that wasn't accurate. It's happening, they can see in an intravaginal thingy. So what are some of the things you like? Like just talk about tracking. Yeah, let's talk about
I also totally feel you about like the too much data
it.
stuff. And a continuous glucose monitor, I think, is a really good tool for some people. But I totally feel what you're saying. So
But
I
for a
use,
period of time, right? Like not all the, some people wear them constantly. I'm like, how do you do that? It's so much information. Sorry, I didn't mean to
yeah.
interrupt you, but please continue.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to have an Aura ring, but I
Mm.
actually, for a multitude of reasons, stopped. But I was overwhelmed by some of the data, and I was letting that information
Mm-hmm.
sway how I was feeling
Mm-hmm.
during my days. And I'd
You're like,
wake
don't
up.
talk to me. My sleep score is 65. Leave me alone.
My ring says I'm not ready. My readiness score is terrible. Even though I would wake up and I'd be like, oh, I feel pretty good. Let me check my phone. I'm like, oh,
Go
I
away,
didn't check.
child. I only have a 72 today.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm serious. It's true.
Yeah, that's why I stopped that's one of the reasons why I stopped doing it
Yeah.
is because it was becoming overwhelming. But for the cycle tracking and because my origin story is part of like learning about birth control and the
Mm.
drug-induced nutrient depletions associated with it. Like I do use this as a method of birth control. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is how that was my entry point. That was really my origin story. So I I focus a lot on that, but it can be used as a tool for conception as well. And that is again a complicated conversation. But with the getting a positive luteinizing hormone strip and then finding out that you didn't ovulate, that is a thing. It's not super common, but
Mm.
it can happen. But also, like, I think in the TTC community, right, you have a lot of
Trying to
people.
conceive.
Yes, yes, thank you. You have a lot of people that are in, a group of people that are experiencing the same thing, and it's just like a snapshot of the population. It's not the
Totally.
whole population. And that's something that I try to keep in mind too, and like in clinical practice. People are like, "Do you see this a lot?" I'm like, "Yeah, but the people that come here because they're in pain. So yes, I see people in pain." Like, so we have to keep in mind that this is like a subsect of the population, but this is still something that happens to people.
Yeah.
But with tracking, there are other things that we can use as markers, not just the positive ovulation strip test. So being able to see if your luteal phase length is an appropriate length will also give us insight if you ovulated or not. Because if it's a shorter cycle, that can be indicative of something called a luteal phase insufficiency.
Mm,
So, your progesterone only comes from three places. Your progesterone comes from a little bit from the adrenals, it comes from the corpus luteum, which only exists after ovulation. And it comes from the placenta, which only exists after 10 weeks of being pregnant. So
mm,
we're not thinking about the placenta right now. We're only thinking about the corpus luteum and the adrenals. If you are not ovulating, which you have the ovary and then it spits out the egg, what's left over after that egg's been spit out is the corpus luteum. That corpus luteum is what produces your progesterone. It is what helps maintain that uterine lining. It is one of the things that helps dictate the length of that luteal phase.
mm,
So if you got a positive LH test, but your luteal phase is short, that makes me think that you may not have actually ovulated even though you had a positive LH test because you didn't have enough progesterone that was being produced by that corpus luteum. Does that make
mm.
sense? I know like there's so much.
No, it does. And it just, it really makes me feel the importance of people working with someone like you that are going through anything. I'm assuming trying to conceive, trying not to conceive, just feeling overly emotional during, I think that's been so normalized, by the way. Like, I'm a bitch. I got, my period's coming. And it's like, no, actually, there's something going on, right? That we're not like, yeah, sure, we're meant to have different emotions and different feelings, but we're not meant to feel terrible during certain parts of our cycles. Correct?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
PMS is common. It's not
PMS, that's the
normal.
word. Yeah, there
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, or PMDD. That's another thing that I'm
Mm,
seeing a lot of women talking about is PMDD.
which is,
Premenstrual dysphoria disorder, I
oh, like
want.
when you're
Yeah.
super excited and happy during that? Is that
Yeah. No.
oh,
No, it's like
euphoria, euphoria. Got
euphoria.
it.
Dis.
Dis that.
Yeah. Yeah, but PMDD is a big one too. But PMS is common, but not necessarily normal. A little bit of discomfort is normal because we have fluctuations in our hormones. Those hormones do different things. And when you're having high hormones in one time and low in another, like you're inevitably going to feel different at some point.
Right. I mean, we're women. We're not like, we have these cycles and also we're just emotional beings. But this, like, for me, it's this predictability, right? Like I can
Yes.
remember back as a teenager, I would have like debilitating cramps every single month at the same day, and that's like a signal, right? Like it's not benign.
Yeah. And it's your body communicating to you. Like that's what all
Right.
symptoms are. We just haven't been taught the language of our body. But again, back to magnesium.
Mm,
That's one of the tools that I use when women are having cyclical symptoms, especially muscle cramps, because again, if you are magnesium deficient, you may be more prone to aches, cramps, spasms, that kind of thing. It may be something as simple as you start increasing your foods that are high in magnesium, or if that's not enough, maybe we cyclically start supplementing with magnesium. And
hmm.
then if that's not working, then we can do a little bit more digging. But like healthcare is a spectrum in general. Like we start with like the quote lower hanging fruit, the easier things,
Hmm.
and then we work up and we see what else needs to be done in there.
Yeah. Oh, Alora, I just love talking to you, and I could talk to you forever, and I have so many questions, and I'm gonna start to simplify and like get to how people can work with you and all that stuff. But I have a few more questions, which is let's talk a little bit about like that progression that you just spoke of, because I think one of the things that's happening, at least on my side of the internet, is like biohackers have had their day, right? Like it's
Yeah.
happened, and there's I remember we talked a tiny bit about this at like 2 seconds at the retreat about peptides, and now there's like I've been seeing ads for like some sort of synthetic breast milk probiotic. Like there's so that there's so it's just excuse me, it's so like if you're like me who's interested in healing or susceptible to marketing or whatever it is, like you have that sort of personality, and you've been working on a health challenge, or you just want to optimize your life, or you're trying to conceive, whatever it be, everyone has. I'm going to say that I'm going to be pretty bold, which is probably not that bold, and say that every single person on planet Earth has some sort of goal with their health because no one's like, I feel fantastic 100% of the time. Like, that's rare. Maybe there's a few people out there. But anyway, my point is that it's so noisy and it's so loud and it's just so easy to end up with like a medicine cabinet full of like 80,000 products and all of a sudden you're, this is me like taking all this stuff and you're like, "Oh my God, what is this even doing?" Anyway, enough of that rant. My point is like, how do you feel about all this and how do you help people sort of navigate this crazy landscape, which is awesome that we have so much available to us, but also like increasingly confusing.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker from good packaging.
Same.
I really am. I'm like, ooh, that's a pretty box, or ooh, that's a nice bottle. I could
Shiny
reuse
thing.
that. Yeah, yeah. That shiny object syndrome. Oh,
Right.
heck yeah. And I would be lying to you if I said I didn't have a medicine cabinet full of a whole bunch of different supplements, right? But yeah, I think the biohacking space has gotten a little bit wild.
Hmm.
And I'm really like personally trying to just go back to basics first. And if you truly, if you're not eating 3 times a day and then you're like shoving a bunch of supplements into your system, it almost seems wasteful to me.
Expensive urine, that's what I call it.
It is. It is expensive urine. And like, I mean, if that's what you need, that's okay. But just making sure, starting with making sure you're getting the 5 things that your body needs. Like, as far as groups of things, your body needs 5 things to survive: fats, carbs, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. Your
Mm.
activity level, your age, your gender, that will dictate the ratio of importance of those things, but like it's a non-negotiable. You need those 5 things. So figuring out if you're getting enough of each of those basic 5 things is where I like to start. And then also what changes people are willing and able to make. So, like, maybe somebody doesn't feel like they have the capacity to make breakfast in the morning. They're not eating 3 times a day. They're only eating twice. Then maybe, like, okay, then that might be where we start putting a protein powder or meal
Hmm.
replacement supplement, whatever.
Hmm.
But then if we get into like chronic disease state because the needs of those 5 basic things and or a genetic predisposition has left them with very specific needs, then we start doing more of the like biohacky stuff. But you can also enter in at that point too. Like, it's okay. There's no really right or wrong, but it becomes very overwhelming
Hmm.
with all of the things that are out there. So I really am like, okay, are you eating? Are you pooping? Are you getting the essential fatty acids that you need for the omega 3s? No. Okay, how do we get them? Do you eat fish? No. Okay, then maybe we supplement. You don't like
Yeah.
fish? Then we supplement. Just it's so individualized and there's so much nuance to it, but I really try to keep it simple. Fats, carbs, proteins, vitamins, minerals. Are you getting them? No. Do you eat them? No. Will you eat them? Yes. Eat them. No. We supplement.
That makes so much sense. Yeah. And I think there is a movement going back to like other basic things, like putting your feet on the earth and getting out in the sun and working on, to the best of your ability, your stress. Because,
Mm,
yeah, I think it's so, it's a challenge. That one's challenging for me personally because stress is really tricky. Like, you know, you can do sometimes me, for example, I can do all of the things, right? And sometimes if you're, say, have a 2-year-old, most likely stress is a little high physiologically because
sure.
they're like high stress beings, not to themselves, but to me. No, I'm not saying that fully, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And I think it's so smart. So tell us, Elora, like what's lighting you up right now, first of all? What are you super excited about? And then how are you working with people these days? Are you working mostly locally? Do you have online ways to join? Like, I know some of these things, but tell everybody all these things.
What's lighting me up right now? Ah.
Besides Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever it is.
Yes, the holiday season and seeing
Mm-hmm.
family and spending time with family and
Mm.
slowing down.
Mm.
Yeah, that. Well, Yeah, that's a big part of it, slowing down.
Mm.
Um, Even in October though, I was thinking about 2026 and it's what I've got going on for 26 and what I'm planning. So, what I am planning for 2026 that is really lighting me up is I am starting a membership that is
Cool.
very accessible. That's my goal, is accessibility for this because it's overwhelming in the health space. And honestly, like the price of things is not going down. So that's another
Mm.
part of stress, right? So I want this to be accessible. And I'm calling it the parlor, like with the gathering space where women come together to talk about the things, to lean on each other, to workshop. What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay. And it is twice a month that there's going to be a workshop where I teach about basic things that you can do to incorporate into your life to support your health and wellness. And then a private Q&A with the group where we can talk about and workshop things about like what's working, what's not working, where can and this is a group thing because like I don't have all of the answers. I got some things about what's been working for me, but there may be somebody else in the group that has a life circumstance that is a little bit more plug and play than an option that I have, right? So it's a group thing and I'm so excited for the parlor. And I am also in the process of planning a summit. So I'm very excited
Oh,
about that for
like an
2026.
online summit?
Yes.
That's
On
awesome. What's
yeah,
the
so
vision for that?
the vision for the summit is going to be that I have female entrepreneurs that probably have mostly been on the podcast. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Um, and we get together and we talk about women's health topics because all of the women that I have had on the podcast are living life and trying to help other women do other things. So if we can get all of them together or a bunch of them together at one time, it's just convenient for time's sake, right? But
Yeah.
it's fun. And also I think having a group of women together where we can bounce off and talk about different things is also just enjoyable and fun. That's again why the parlor is happening is because when we get together in community with other women, it's nourishing in a whole other way, not just the fats, carbs, proteins, vitamins, minerals, all that. Like it's nourishing for the soul. And I'm just really looking forward to all of that for next year.
That's awesome. And how can people work with you right now, which is probably going to be 2026 by the time this airs? So yeah, that's a little trippy. But how can people work with you right now?
Yeah. So probably going to be waitlisting for the next cohort of In Tune, which is my cycle tracking group cohort where I
Mm,
teach women how their cycles work from, day one until the next day of their cycle, how to advocate for themselves at their doctor's office and simple things that they can do to support themselves throughout their menstrual cycle as well. So I run that as a cohort and that will probably be waitlisted by the time this comes out so people can join that if they are looking to increase their odds of conscious conception or if they're looking to use this as hormone-free birth control. That is the way that you want to work with me is through Intune. But I do some one-on-one, and then the parlor is going to be the other way that people can work with me next year.
so cool. Thank you so very much. This was super informative, super fun, and I'm just really excited to know you. So thank you so much, Ellora.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. See you later. Bye.